Hey everybody, it's Lon.TV, and we're taking a look today at the Fire 7 tablet. This is the new revised version for 2022 and 2023, presumably. And this is Amazon's lowest cost Fire device. It is very small, as you can see here, with a 7-inch display. And we're going to take a look at what you can do with this tablet in just a second. But I do want to let you know, in the interest of full disclosure, that I paid for this with my own funds. All the opinions you're about to hear are my own. No one is paying for this review, nor has anyone reviewed or approved what you're about to see before it was uploaded. So let's get into it now and see what this tablet is all about. Now, the price point on this starts at $59 at the time I'm recording this video. The one we're looking at today is the entry-level version, and this one is ad-supported. You can pay a little bit more to not have ads on it. And what happens here is that every time you lock and unlock the display here, you will be presented with an advertisement. I'm finding the ads are getting a little more aggressive. Some of them actually have video built into them as well. They're not going to play audio until you interact with it, but you will start seeing a lot more active advertising, I think, than what we've seen out of prior versions of it. But beyond that, you're not peppered with ads throughout most of your interface with the device, so you won't see too many interruptions while you're using it. Now, this is powered with a MediaTek processor, an MT8168V/B. It is much more powerful than the prior edition of this very same tablet, and we'll look at some comparisons performance-wise with that in a little bit when we get to our benchmarks. This is basically now the same device hardware-wise as their 8-inch tablet. It's going to perform identical to that one. But of course, this one has a 7-inch display. It's actually a nice display. It looks very similar, if not the same, as the prior edition tablet. It's adequately bright. It runs at a very low resolution, though, 1024 by 600. But that's okay when you're in a smaller size like this. It doesn't look as low resolution as it might if the display was larger, where you could see more of the pixels. But you have a good amount of pixel density in a small display like this, so it does not look offensive, even though the resolution is slightly below 720p. Now, this new tablet has double the memory versus the old one, 2 gigabytes of RAM versus 1 gigabyte. I believe some of that is to accommodate the Fire OS 8 operating system that is on this tablet. It's the latest version of Amazon's tablet operating system. And this new tablet, believe it or not, is the first one to get that new OS. It is based on Android 11, and it can run some Android applications, but it does not support the Google Play Store. So for example, if you want to watch YouTube, you've got to download this generic youtube.com quote-unquote app, which basically pulls up a web version of the YouTube homepage for you to consume YouTube on. You will find in the Amazon App Store a number of apps that appear on other Android devices, but they are not the same app. So if you've purchased an Android app on the Google Play Store, you have to purchase it again on Amazon. You will find some instructions online for installing the Google Play Store on Amazon tablets, but this is not supported by Google or Amazon, so you have to kind of do that at your own risk, and it might be a little more complicated for general consumers than it might be for the technical crowd out there. So just be advised of that. It's running Android, but it's its own version of Android that's not immediately compatible with the Google ecosystem. Now, as far as storage goes, this has 16 gigabytes of onboard storage, not bad for an inexpensive tablet. And then on the side here, it looks like on this side, there's a door for a micro SD card where you can add up to a terabyte of additional storage on the device. Now, you don't get much in the way of ports on this one, but there is a headphone jack right here. We don't see that these days on a lot of more expensive devices. Over here, you have a USB Type-C port. This is for charging, but it will also work with USB-C and USB devices with an adapter. A little bit earlier, I plugged in this USB-C memory stick into that port, and it worked, but it does not support display output. You got a microphone right here for communicating with people. You also have your volume rocker here and your power switch, and that is it from a port perspective. It only has a single speaker down here on the lower left. It sounds okay, nothing spectacular, but it will be loud enough to hear a phone call, but I think I would attach Bluetooth headphones or a regular pair of headphones for the best audio quality. Now, there are 2 cameras on this device, one on the front here in the middle when you're in landscape mode and another on the back. You are able to run Zoom and other conferencing apps on here, and they'll run actually pretty well on it, all things considered. The cameras, though, are not spectacular. They're both 2-megapixel 720p cameras. For a Zoom call, the quality is probably fine, but if you're trying to do some video production work, you're definitely going to want to look elsewhere. Here's a shot I did out of the rear camera, and you can see there is no stabilization whatsoever, and the video quality definitely looks dated. It looks closer to one of those handheld flip cameras I used about 12 or 15 years ago. So all in, not great for video production, but probably passable if you're doing a Zoom call or some kind of video conference. Now, Amazon says you'll get about 10 hours of battery life on this, and I think you can get to that point if you stick to the basics like web browsing and email and other types of tasks that don't put too much of a strain on its processor. If you have kids and they're running Roblox or Minecraft, that is going to eat into the battery much more significantly, and I would expect maybe 5 or 6 hours or less of battery life when running those more strenuous applications. But I think for people that are casual users, you'll definitely get a full day out of this before you have to charge it again. Now, you'll note that the screen here is picking up a lot of fingerprints and other types of gunk, and it will do that very quickly because these lower priced devices do not have any fancy screen lamination that resists fingerprints and oils and other things. So you will be wiping down the screen quite a bit, and I found that the camera here gets pretty murky very quickly if you have any bit of dirt on the screen. So you may want to keep a little cloth out that you can use to wipe things down quickly. The build quality is about what you would expect out of something at this price point. It is all plastic, but I have been surprised over the years just how rugged these are versus iPads, for example. My kids had these when they were young, and they really abused them quite a bit, and you rarely find an instance where the screen gets cracked on you. It's a really rugged little device, even though it doesn't feel that way. The bezels, of course, kind of harken back to a decade ago, but I think if you are not looking to spend a lot of money, you will forfeit nice aesthetics for something that performs adequately at a very low price. It weighs about 9.9 ounces or 282 grams, not all that heavy, and there is a kid's bumper case for it that will provide additional protection. You only, though, get a 90-day warranty on this, so if it breaks about 6 months in, you're going to have to get another one. All right, let's take a look now and see how it performs. Now remember, there's no Google apps on this, so you have to use the Amazon equivalents. We'll start off with some web browsing here using the Amazon Silk browser, and we'll visit the nasa.gov homepage. Now this device has a AC Wi-Fi radio built in. It does not support the new and faster Wi-Fi 6 standard, but it's pretty slow, so I don't think it would really benefit from a Wi-Fi 6 connection. And as you can see here, things render in okay. It is a little sluggish as you're bouncing around to different websites and apps, but I think it's adequate for very basic kinds of usage, and the web pages will eventually render there for you, just not as quickly as they might on a more expensive tablet device. Now this does, of course, support all of Amazon's media apps like Prime Video and Freevee, and of course it supports Netflix and Disney Plus and others as well. Netflix runs pretty nicely on here, as you can see. Videos start up pretty quickly here on my local Wi-Fi. I'm not seeing any drop frames or anything of concern while I'm playing back media. So the overall media experience is actually quite good on this, even if it feels a little sluggish getting to the things that you want to watch. And most of the media apps that you'll encounter on this support downloading videos for offline viewing, so you can watch stuff on a plane, either stored on the SD card or the internal memory of the device. Now, as far as gaming is concerned, I thought we would take a look at Roblox, since they advertised this on the back of the Fire 7 box here. And as you can see, it is a little bit laggy. I think you might be able to adjust some of the settings to speed it up a bit. But it is playable. You can play with the touch screen here, of course, or you can pair up a compatible Bluetooth game controller. I have an Xbox controller paired up right now that works fine with this and a number of other games that are available on the Amazon App Store. You can also, what they call, sideload Android games onto this if you have the APK files for those games. But that is not an officially supported method of bringing software onto the device here. Where this thing gets tripped up is when you start getting into areas where there's a lot of players congregating, and I'm not sure if that's a network issue or a processor issue, but it will maybe be a little bit more laggy than it might be on an iPad or something that costs more. Let's take a look at a few other games. This is GTA Vice City. This runs very nicely on here. This is a port of an old PlayStation 2 game. And as you can see, this is very smooth, no lag here at all. Now, we also tried some retro video game emulation, and it was able to do the 8 and 16-bit consoles from the 80s and 90s quite well, but things like the Nintendo 64 are a bit too much for the tablet here. So although this game runs, it does not run at an ideal frame rate and is not as playable as it would be on a more powerful device. And on the 3D Mark Slingshot Gaming Benchmark test, we got a score of 993. That puts this tablet at a much higher rate of performance versus the Fire 7 tablet that it's replacing from 2019, as you can see there. But note it's the same performance you'll get out of the HD8, and that's because they largely have the same guts inside. The fastest Amazon tablet is their 10-inch one called the Fire HD 10. Now, game streaming is becoming more and more popular. In most cases, you subscribe to a service and run a game on a remote server and have it streamed to your device. And what I've got running right now is the Microsoft version of this called Xbox Cloud Gaming, and we're running Forza Horizon 5 here. And as you can see, it's running very nicely and has support for my controller and everything, but I had to jump through some hoops to get this to work. The reason is that the Xbox Game Pass app that's in the Amazon App Store at the moment does not support the cloud streaming features, even though that very same app on Android devices does. I tried to sideload that app onto the device here, but it required Google Play services in order to be installed, so that was out. And then the Silk browser, which is the default web browser on the tablet here, did not work with the web version of Xbox Cloud Gaming, so I had to sideload the Brave browser on here, which did eventually work. So it took some time here to get the Xbox Cloud Gaming working. Now, Amazon has their own streaming service, which should run fine on here. It's called Amazon Luna, but I'm not subscribed to that, and I wanted to see how other services might work. So the bottom line here is that if you can get it working, it will work fine. But getting it working is the challenge in some cases, depending on the service. So just be prepared for a little bit of extra work to get those game streaming services up and running. There are, though, apps like Moonlight and Rainway that allow you to stream games from your gaming PC in your home, and those work very well on here and are installable through the Amazon App Store. Now, this will work also like an Amazon Echo device, and right now it is locked and off essentially, but it's listening for its trigger words. So if I say, show me the weather in New York City today, you'll see that it woke itself up and is now responding to the command that I issued to it. And like an Echo Show, you get visuals here for the request that you made, in addition to having the Amazon voice read things back to you. And like an Amazon Echo device, it allows full control over your smart home devices. And on the bottom of the taskbar here, you're always going to find this little button that you can push to get quick access to those smart home devices. So for example, I can turn on a lamp upstairs here, and I can go in and adjust the brightness of that lamp with the little slider here most of the time. And this will work very similar to how it would on an Echo Show device. So you get tablet functionality and Echo functionality kind of in one package here. And you can also use voice to load up apps if you want on the tablet side of the device. Now, the tablet does allow sharing among family members, with each family member getting their own profile and login. So if I go back to the lock screen here, I can tap on this icon in the upper right-hand corner and switch over to one of my daughter's accounts here. And this will load up a special kids interface because I've designated her account as a kid, and that will restrict what she can do. I have a little more control over what she can see, and it's nice to see that there is something just for kids on here that will keep them out of the things that are on my account. And the adult accounts are protected by PIN numbers, so if my daughter tried to get into my account, she would be challenged to enter the PIN that I've assigned before it allows her in. So there are some protections here, but there's no fingerprint readers or other kinds of biometrics on this tablet. So overall, my impression of this tablet is exactly what it's been with the prior versions. Not bad. It's not going to knock your socks off performance-wise, but I think for its price point, it is quite functional and quite usable. I would really like Amazon and Google to sit down and figure out a way in which they can work together, because I think it would be much more usable if it had native support for the Google Play Store, because there are a lot of things that I think people might want to use, like the official YouTube app, that you currently can't get at with these Fire tablet devices. But for basic media watching, for basic kids games and whatnot, this is a nice, affordable alternative that's actually a little more rugged than an iPad you'll pay a lot more money for. So all in, not bad for the price. And until next time, this is Lon.TV. Thanks for watching.
This channel is brought to you by the Lon.TV supporters, including gold level supporters Chris Allegretta, Brian Parker, Hot Sauce and Video Games, Baby Metal Fox God, Tom Albrecht, Amda Brown, Matt Zagaya, and Tech Time with Eric. If you want to help the channel, you can by contributing as little as $1 a month. Head over to lon.tv/support to learn more. And don't forget to subscribe. Visit lon.tv/s.